What's up, guys? In today's superhero training whatever thing, we are going to be showing how to pick locks using lockpicks,
Paperclip,
credit card, spatula.
Busted hatchet thing, but why do you have a spatula? Because if you're like locked outside.
Because you're SpongeBob and you always have a spatula. No, I don't know. You're barbecuing, you're flipping burgers, you're outside. You locked yourself out. You don't carry lockpicks all the time because you're an idiot. You didn't carry your batarang around.
You always carry your batarang around.
Always. Then you don't have to pick a lock using a spatula, because then your doorknob is going to be tasty, and then the Hamburglar is going to come and get you.
But this is for fun, so why not?
Why not? Hams. Why not? Exactly.
Let's risk it.
This is for educational purposes only. Don't use this to break into people's houses.
Or we will break into your house and beat you up. For fun. And for educational purposes.
And maybe for profit. Who knows? We might just do it for fun. I don't know. Might even beat you up with this. We'll find out. Alright, guys.
Let's be superheroes.
So, we'll start with how to pick a lock using a credit card.
One of our many cards from our accounts that have no money. How convenient.
Always save your old credit cards. Don't throw them away, then hackers can use them. Keep your old ones so that you can use them for this.
I'm gonna open this door and bag it.
That is not how you do it, even though it worked.
Okay.
So I guess that can be how you do it, but that usually won't work. You take the credit card, you stick it in between the two parts like that, and that's what happens. And I will show you how to do that. But first, do it using a batarang.
Okay.
And now a spatula.
Okay. Anything else from your magic hat or Mary Poppins bag?
How about my magic hat?
I don't know if this will actually work.
I seriously doubt it will. All right. The shape of the bolt right there is how the whole thing works. As you can see, it's beveled on this end and straight on that end. So when you're coming from inside, what you're doing, or from the outside, and you're going in this way, is you're shoving the card in like this, connecting to that angle, and then pushing this in like that, and then that's how it separates from the door. Because even when the door is locked, see now it's unlocked, but then I'll come over here, I'll lock it, this doesn't turn. Even when that doesn't turn, this still does, because that's how you get in to the door, or that's how the door will shut and lock. Even after you lock it, you can push it shut, and that's why they do that. This one's a little bit harder because the gap is a little bit smaller in there. So you come in at your angle or whatever, but then you notice that it's not pushing anything because you're not getting in there. And so what you do, sometimes I'll change hands like that, and that'll work. Sometimes that doesn't always work. Sometimes what you got to do is actually push and kind of get the door kind of like bouncing feeling. Whenever it feels like that in between, then that's how you open it up. Alright, so I'm going to lock the door. See, now it's unlocked. Now it's locked, but the bolt still moves. But you can't do the credit card trick because it opens to the outside. So it's not possible to do that. So you take your tension wrench, stick it in the bottom, and then you determine which way the lock actually turns. And the way you determine that is you can see that it has more slack moving this way. If it had more slack moving this way and rotated more, then I would pick it like this. But I can tell by the way it rotates that the bolt actually turns, or the cylinder actually turns this way. If you're not good at single pin picking, you can just go in there and do this up and down thing, and you're applying slight pressure down here with your thumb, while at the same time just going basically up and down and in, and when you come back and break it like that. And even if you don't know how to single pin pick, you can usually get in using this technique, because eventually you're going to hit those up and down parts and get the pins where they actually need to be to where the cylinder will actually freely rotate. What it's actually doing is that first pin is false setting, which I'm going to explain in the video.
Yay!
There we go. In you go. So the basic idea when you pick a lock, this is regular old lock. This is what it looks like on the inside. Basically, you got these two sections. This is going to have those like a cross shape cut out in it, and on this side you can see those pins that come up right there. Basically what you're doing is, if the pins, like right now you can see they're sticking out of the bottom, if you raise it too high with your pick, the individual pins, then it's sticking out the top, the pin is like that, and so either way it's not gonna rotate around in the cylinder. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to raise this to just the right height, and each one of these pins is cut to a different length. So you're not just shoving it all the way to the top, you're shoving it to the correct length or height or whatever, until the thing rotates. So what you're doing with your other tool here, your tension wrench, is you're applying pressure, just really like slight, easy pressure or whatever, because if you clamp down too hard, then those pins won't move. But the idea is, when you're putting a little bit of tension here, the idea of why you're doing that is because then whenever you get the pin to the right height and you move on to your next pin, where you're actually supposed to start at the back and work forward, but anyways, as you move on to your next pin, the pressure that you're exerting here is what actually keeps the pin in place. And so that's how you keep it at the correct height, and then you move on to the next one. And until you learn how to single pin pick, just the easiest thing to do: up and down, all the way back, rake out. Up and down, all the way back, rake out. Just keep doing that. Eventually you'll get in. And that pretty much covers it. I like to practice this pick. Even though it's not my favorite pick to use because it's not the easiest, it's actually one of the hardest. I use it because it's more similar to what you would actually be using if you had to improvise, if you weren't carrying picks on you, which I always do carry picks on me, but just in case you get in a situation where you don't have them on you, you're going to be using just a regular paper clip or something like that. And sometimes they'll bend this in a way to make a bump on it to use like a rake, but like I said before, I hate rakes because you're just going to sit there scrubbing the lock over and over till you get in. You have no actual control over what you're doing. So if you're practicing using one of these, just a straight pick that goes straight in there, then once you get good at that, it's going to feel basically the same as using what you're used to whenever you have to use a paper clip. And you can, if you don't have a tension wrench, obviously you can just bend the paper clip in such a way that it acts like a tension wrench, so you would need two paper clips. And sometimes whenever I'm bored, I actually use paper clips, but then you would just use it the same way. Fish it in, up and down, up and down. And actually the good thing about a paper clip is it's so flimsy and crappy that you can feel the pins really well. You just have a hard time controlling it. Then rake out, you do the exact same thing that you do with the other ones. But anyways, the great thing about having a small lock like this to practice on is I actually do this at work, because I can easily, if I go up and I have to actually do my job, I can easily conceal it in my hand, use gestures and stuff like that so people can't see that I'm picking a lock instead of doing my job or whatever. But another good thing about it, or another idea of how to get better at this, if you sit here and you concentrate on it and you use this technique and you've done all this research on single pin picking and you get frustrated because you've picked it over and over and over and it's just not turning, the thing to do to get good at this is don't actually think about what you're doing once you get the basic technique of up and down, rake out. Instead, get a small lock, padlock, something like that. Sit in front of the TV, watch TV, and do this while you're watching TV, because then you won't be paying attention. Got it. Rotate it around. You won't be paying attention to what you're actually doing. You'll just sort of be getting the feel for it, and it's a good idea to get the feel for this technique. And the best way to do that without getting bored and frustrated is just watch TV and do that while you're not even paying attention to it. So that pretty much covers it. Again, educational purposes.
Don't be shady.